Nora Speaks is a weekly podcast that tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community. With show topics such as youth empowerment, education, women's impact, and civic engagement, Nora Speaks challenges the listener to not only join the movement, but be the movement. On the show, you'll learn from insightful guests who have demonstrated capacity in these fields and more, and I'm your host, Munir Muhammad. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast, and I am your host, Munir Muhammad. It is a privilege and a pleasure to have you join me again in another episode of the show. Thank you for coming back week after week to listen and to hear what I have to say or what is being shared by a wonderful or intriguing guest that may stop by the Nora Speaks studios. Last week in the last episode, I shared to me what makes podcasting so great. I think that podcasting is an excellent tool to communicate, to share information. It's a tool to create. It's a tool to be entertained. It's a tool to have worthwhile conversations. And that is my goal with the podcast, with Nora Speaks, is to have worthwhile conversations. I continuously check my heart. I want to deliver this show with the purest of heart, the purest of mind, without any vanity. And I know it can be challenging to keep vanity out of any project that we're doing when it's us and a microphone or it's us and a camera. Vanity does have its place. You want your voice to sound right. You want your words to come across well. If you're on a camera, you want to look good for the camera and on the camera because you want to be attractive or present a attractive package or product for people to continue consuming it, right? And that's what I intend to do. I want it to be attractive. However, in terms of managing ego, right, managing vanity, I always think about the purpose of the show. I always think about what it is that I want the audience to get from this show. And that's why I say, I always want to keep vanity in the background. I want to minimize the vanity because this show is not about me. This show was about the service to my community. And that is first and foremost. And ego can get in the way of serving communities. And I've seen it happen time and time again. I'm sure you've seen it happen time and time again. And this isn't about me kind of having a big S on my chest because I have this podcast and, it's something that's published week after week and people listen to it and recognize it or recognize me. I want the message that I'm sharing to be foremost. And so with last week talking about what I think makes podcasts so great, I listed quite a few shows. I think I talked about maybe 10 or 11. I shared 10 or 11 in the recording, but I also included many more on the show notes. So I hope you had a chance to go and take a look at some of those shows or listen to some of those shows or put them on your to-do list because there's some really, really great content out there. Content that will inspire, content that will inform, content that will teach us. And I shared some shows that I've found to be entertaining, inspirational, and great listens. So if you've listened to some, let me know what you think. If you haven't, take a look. But I do want you to, I think it's nice to have a variety of content. For example, so you might be someone that likes sci-fi or horror movies, but every now and then it's nice to take in a documentary. Every now and then it's nice to listen or to watch a news program, something that can feed your mind or give you information to actually utilize in your day-to-day life. So take a listen to some of those shows. As I said, I love Behind the Brilliance with Lisa Nicole Bell. I love Brown Ambition with Tiffany Aliche, the Budgetnista, and her co-host Mandy Woodruff. Snap Judgment is a really great show produced by WNYC. that's entertaining. I've always enjoyed Fresh Air with Terry Gross. That's an NPR show. And, there's a show called The Clark Howard Show, and he gives, really great financial advice, as well as Brown Ambition. So just take a listen, broaden your horizons, broaden your perspective. You may say, oh, no, I hate these shows, and that's okay, too. I hope you don't hate Nora Speaks and that you continue to come back week after week, episode after episode to receive the content that I hope is engaging to you, because that is the goal. And last week, I spent some time in the city of Chicago with a wonderful community there, the organization of Crow, and you've heard some of their members on the Nora Speaks podcast, Brother Yosef Ben Asiel, Sister Akila Ali, Brother Munir Muhammad, who was and is a co-founder. We lost Brother Munir in July of last year. And, spending time with them as they celebrated their 33rd Founders Day, meaning the 33rd year of the founding of that organization. It was, and it is, every time I go there, such a remarkable time spent with, Black men and Black women who are upholding an organization. They have one singular cause, and they've been consistent in that cause, and they consistently work in service of that cause or of that guiding principle. And that the guiding principle of that organization happens to be the remembrance of the achievements and the legacy of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But it is the singularity of purpose that I am just so terribly impressed with. And after we came back from Chicago, I went with a contingent of brothers and sisters from the Camden Temple, Muhammad's Temple number 20, where I am a member. And we came back and we had a discussion just about, not necessarily about the trip, but just about what we see in terms of Black businesses and the individuality that seems to be very prevalent. And, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, but if you're on Instagram, there are so many Black businesses, there's so many, Black podcasts, Black media groups. And I'm very excited that there are a lot of Black people that are entering into some sort of enterprise, some entrepreneurship, trying to start a business, write a book. I believe that in a sound economic base is essential for us to change the trajectory of the condition of our communities. And I think that economic empowerment is very, very important. However, economic empowerment will not happen without some kind of unity or unified base. And I think to a great extent that's lacking. And I think that it might not even kind of resonate for a lot of people who are looking to start. And there's so many. I mean, there are people who are selling hair care products, nutritional items, T-shirts, other apparel, designers. There are, hairstylists, barbers. There's so much enterprise that's happening and that's starting, and that I think is so great. However, I think we have to move beyond just looking for individual success. I don't think that we appreciate or recognize the importance of organizational success. So, for example, if I'm someone and I write a book, right? I might write a fictional piece of work, and I write a book and it may sell, and then I write a book and it may sell. And, besides the publisher, unless I self-publish, those proceeds come to me, and maybe the publishing company, distribution, or, and that's an individual enterprise, and it's good. If I'm selling hair care products, if I'm creating hair care products in my kitchen and I'm selling them, and I'm mailing my products out and I'm reaping the benefits, well, that's benefiting me. It's benefiting the people who are consuming it, but it's also benefiting me financially. So what about being anchored in to a foundation that is just more than you? And I don't think that we are as encouraged to have a base of unity as we should. And we talk unity. You know, there are memes and hashtags and movements, and we will talk unity. But unity really involves more than just talking about unity. Unity really means that we are really combining our resources, we're combining our talents, we are establishing some kind of a network with a guiding principle. And so before we can have unity, then we have to understand what a guiding principle is, or what our guiding principle should be. And having organizational success is so much more involved than individual success. And I think that in part, in addition to just, being ignorant of the fact of the importance of organizational success, I think the challenge and the difficulty that we have creating organizational success can be a barrier, because frankly, this involves us. Again, I was talking earlier about, putting aside our own vanity and putting down our own egos. When we come together, there's going to be somebody that's going to shine brighter than you, that's going to be more talented than you or than me, that's going to have the wisdom to be the director of the organization, to be in leadership of the organization. And so many times when we come together, we want to be the boss. We want to be in charge. But we have to defer to those who have greater knowledge or greater experience or greater capacity than we. And maybe we're the ones with the capacity. Maybe we are the ones with the wisdom. So the challenge for us then is to share what it is that our goals are or our ideas are with one or two or three other people, and to get their buy-in. And so that is the big challenge, is for us to encourage or to get the buy-in of others. It's easy to be an individual. You only have to convince yourself. And, even with that, you have to overcome laziness and shiftlessness and obstinance and inconsistency and procrastination. And certainly, you have to overcome challenges then as an individual. But then when we want to have broader success, then we have to do it with other people. And therein, we find the challenge of jealousy, of self-hatred, of a habit of totally being reliant on others, of not being self-starters and self-dependent. And it's difficult. And I know it's difficult. But just being in Chicago and seeing those brothers and sisters in the face of the loss of a leader who was dynamic, he was charismatic, he was just such a brilliant person. But the organization has 3 co-founders. And although that co-founder is no longer amongst us here physically, there are 2 remaining co-founders, plus a body and a membership of people that still are in service to the ultimate guiding principle. And so they do, and they will continue to have success because they are in service to the guiding principle that they've all agreed upon. And so for us here who you may be listening and you may have an idea for a hair care product, or you may have an idea for, writing books, writing novels, starting a podcast, starting some kind of media group, starting a youth organization, starting a support group, whatever it is that you have in your mind to do, as you are moving out on that idea and creating it, or maybe you have already moved out on it and you've created it, I would strongly encourage you to find others who share the same principles that you have, to create a network so you are not just an individual, that you have those around you who will support you. It is very difficult to be in a society and to be an island. And a lot of us see each other as an opportunity to make $1. So I've been to different pop-up events where vendors are selling their products, and I might go there to work as a vendor or to work with a vendor, but I always make it my business to support the other vendors that are there in the room. Because we don't want, you shouldn't just want people to just come and buy from you, but what are you doing to put back into the collective economy, if you will? And when we have an organization, the organization is creates a system that is servicing a community. And when you're creating a system to serve the community or to serve others, then in that system is the mechanism also to have the longevity. And to have the longevity, to maintain the mechanism, then we are going to have unity. We are going to have to be unified in oneness. Now, just because we are in unity doesn't mean that we agree on everything. And we have challenges with each other when we don't agree. When we don't agree, we walk away. But just because we don't agree doesn't mean we should walk away. When we don't agree, we should try to find areas of common understanding. We are all different people. We are all individuals, but we're coming together as individuals to create and to make a collective body. And in that, we have to have the maturity to recognize that, yeah, we're not always going to agree on everything, but the greater good. I have to put down my ego because there's a greater good, because there's a greater need than just what the need is for my own personal satisfaction, right? So to establish an organization that's going to have longevity, that's going to go beyond just me or just the brother or sister next to me, but go even in service of our grandchildren, in service of the children of our neighbors who may not even be born yet, then we have to understand the necessity to have a group operation, to have unity, right? And we have to have collective activity. And so those who are interested in enterprise or who are engaged in enterprise, I would strongly encourage you to have the backing of your brothers and sisters, have the backing of the organization of others, of organizing with others. And that is leveling up, right? People talk about, they want to level up. That is leveling up. Not just being a boss by yourself. Okay, cool. You're the boss. But you're the boss of who? You're bossing what, right? Besides just wanting to be the boss, besides just wanting to attain wealth, because you see people as an opportunity to attain wealth. I mean, we have people doing that in our communities all the time. We can drive through any urban community or a community where there's a large group of Black people living. And we see people there who are sucking the blood of our people economically, who are not reinvesting in those same people. So I'm talking about those nail shops. I'm talking about those so-called beauty stores that are selling our people products, but they're not sponsoring the little league teams. They're not sponsoring the Pee Wee football leagues. They're taking their money that they are getting from us, that we're giving them, and they're taking it to their communities, to their families, to their organizations, and they're putting that money into the engine of their organization, right? If we did that same thing, then we could really change what we are faced with in our communities overnight. We don't have to be a bunch of individuals, right? We can be individuals that come together, that create a body. And now that's next level. And so I challenge you who's listening to this to think about how you can create a network or plug into a network that already exists, because we don't always have to create it if it already exists. We can plug into a network of people that are already doing something, or you can see those around you who appear to be progressive, who are working towards success in their individual lane, and bring them together with you so that you all can have something collective. We are stronger when we are working together. We share wisdom, we share tools, we share resources, we share ideas. We are so much stronger together. And it is that togetherness that is going to help us create successful outcomes and create longevity for ourselves. I saw it in Chicago when I went to visit Crow. The brother who passed, Brother Munir, he was, as the other co-founder, Shahid Muslim, said, he was the spark plug, of the organization. But guess what? When you get a tune-up, you take out the spark plugs that are no longer as efficient and you replace it with new spark plugs, right? So one person doesn't stop the forward progress of the organization because it is bigger than just one person, even as great as that one person is or was. So I want to encourage you as you are thinking about whatever it is that you want to do, how you want to serve people, to not just do it as an individual, but to plug yourself in with others and to meet the real challenge of doing it for yourself. I've heard people who are raising their children. They say, look, I'm just doing me. I'm just raising mine. Okay, well, that's great that you're interested in making sure that your children are coming up well. But what about the child that your child is going to meet when they walk outside the door, right? What about the neighborhood that your child is going to have to walk through on his or her way to school? If we are just focused on our own individual selves and there is need to the left of us and there is need to the right of us, then that need and everything that comes along with that need and the absence of civilization and decency, well, that's going to bleed on into our homes because it's going to affect our children. It's going to affect our community. It's going to affect the value of our property. So no man is an island. And while we are, on Instagram and on other social medias, while we're going to our pop-up shops, while we're going to these conferences so that we can learn how to increase our own personal wealth and our own personal value and our own personal capital, think about group capital. Think about group operations. Think about collective action and how we can combine what we have, the services that we provide to produce an even greater service organization, to produce an even better product, to produce even greater junior football leagues or junior baseball leagues. Think about what we can do collectively and mature beyond just seeking individual success. Mature to the participation in organizational success. So you may say, well, Nora, are you practicing this too? And I will say I am. I will tell you that this podcast, Nora Speaks, is built off of work that I have already done in my own community with my own organization. In fact, it was the leadership in my organization that said, well, look, you're doing so much here, but your voice needs to be heard beyond just this building, beyond just this block, beyond just this city. And so I was encouraged by my leadership who saw something in me and said, look, you need to broaden your message and work towards a broader reach. And so this podcast, although it is mine, it has my name on it, I really see this as an extension of the foundation that I have where I am working collectively in group operations with others. And it is a joy. I am wonderfully supported. I am backed. I am encouraged. And when I say supported, I don't mean just emotionally. I am even supported financially. And in anything that you need to continue to produce content, to maintain consistency, to have shelter and safety, I am totally supported. And I'm grateful that I'm plugged into an organization that can secure me when I can't secure myself. So think about that and think about the necessity for group operations and take a look at others around us, other ethnic groups, other races of people, and see them doing it. So what I'm saying is not novel, it's not new, it's just not a practice that we have on a broad scale. And that's what I want to encourage us to do. So think about it. Let me know what you think. I'd be interested in your comments. I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Nora Speaks podcast, and I hope to talk to you again next week. But in the meantime, stay in peace. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Be on the lookout for a new episode coming at you fresh next week. And as always, if you want to learn more about me and the work that I do, visit my website, noramuhammad.com. Or if you have a listener question, email me at info@noraspeaks.com. You can also follow the Nora Speaks podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nora Speaks Podcast. I'll be sure to include links in the show notes. If this show has value to you, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with family and friends. And be sure to check out previous episodes. And remember, don't just join the movement, be the movement. Stay in peace.